Welcome to the Object-Oriented UX podcast, a podcast about tackling complexity head-on, gracefully organizing massive amounts of information, and designing scalable, future-proof, and of course, naturally intuitive object-oriented user experiences. An OUXer is a powerful blend of information architect, business analyst, facilitator, and UX strategist. If this sounds like you or what you aspire to, you are so in the right place. I'm Sophia Prater, UX designer, chief evangelist of Object-Oriented UX, and your host. Let's jump into it.
What's up, OUXers? We are in the midst of cohort 10 right now. So I've been a little busy. I'm playing with cohort 10. I'm doing another design challenge alongside with them. I'm delivering all of these cool bonuses. So it's been a little spotty with the podcast. I'm a little bit off schedule, but I wanted to get this one out because this is really important. So this episode is about two business rules, two like business or life lessons that are very, very close to me, but that I have gotten away from a little bit and that I am recalibrating on. And I want to talk to you about those lessons. I think they can be applied to business. They can be applied to life. So this is, if you read the Medium article, this is kind of like an ad lib retelling of a really short Medium post. And I'll probably go on tangents as I do. But the other thing also that I want to talk to you about is the difference between the Udemy course and the masterclass, because I also want to kind of tell you about what is like basic OUX and what is advanced OUX. All right. So we'll kind of differentiate those because that's a question that I get a lot of the time. Like, oh, I did the Udemy course. Like, why would I go do this other course? So I'll get into that. If that is something that you have been wondering about, then this is going to be a really good episode for you. And I think it's going to be a good episode, even if you've been through the certification or the masterclass, just to kind of go on this little journey with me of self-rediscovery or something like that, with some things that probably you know intellectually, but it is good to be reminded of. Okay, so the big thing to know is that the Self-Paced Object-Oriented UX Masterclass is coming off the shelves. Doors are closing this Friday. So if you're not listening to this in real time, you might not have access to the masterclass. So that is September 27th at midnight. That's 2024. So we have had it up on our website, available for, I think, like 3 years now. It's been available and you can enroll any time. The whole idea is that it is self-paced. You can come in and you get lifelong access to it. That is available for, at the time of this recording, like 4 more days. All right. So we're going to try to get this podcast out as soon as possible so that we can get the news out. Why am I doing this? Okay, so like people have called this masterclass so many amazing things, like life-changing and mind-blowing, and recently I heard career-saving. So the masterclass is good stuff. I stand by it. It is one of the things that I am the most proud of. And it's just amazing. Like I started with this goal of just helping frustrated UX designers make technology a little less annoying, and this whole thing is just taken off. So very, very cool. People are enrolling in the course every month, which is amazing. And to be perfectly honest, enrolling 3 to 5 students a week is a massive chunk of our livelihood. Like that really is what keeps the lights on. Because right now, these cohorts, we're only doing the cohorts once a year. So that self-paced masterclass really does keep us afloat. But we have decided it's going to hibernate. It's going to hibernate for a while, and it is coming back. But why are we pulling it from the shelves? So again, like, if you are in the Self-Paced Masterclass, please do not panic. You still have access to it. You are in, you are good, you are safe, all right? We're not taking anything away from anybody, all right? We're just closing the doors, okay? Not like access if you're already in. If you're already in, you're in. So don't worry. One of the best things about the OUX Masterclass is how challenging it is. Okay, it really does stretch and expand your UX mind into new capacities and new capabilities, majorly like your capacity to, primarily your capacity to take in complex challenges and take in a lot of information and make sense of it in a way that is calm and collected and playful and collaborative. So tackling complexity is really hard. And when you learn OOUX, you're basically pushing your skills beyond what a lot of, quote, normal UXers can do. So this is really great for advancing your career and just being a badass, but it's really actually pretty tough to do without support. So the Self-Paced Masterclass, this like trove of video content and templates and resources, was actually never designed to be used alone. All right, so I designed the material as sort of the video textbook for the OOUX certification. So the OOUX certification came first. It's my hands-on 10-week program that I'm in the middle of cohort 10. So when I made cohort 1 through 3, it was all just live Zoom calls. And then I created the pre-recorded content so that I could flip the classroom. And during the certifications, people could watch the videos. And then when we got together, we would have Q&A. And I was also just like tired of delivering the same content over and over and over again after 3 cohorts. I was like, okay, dust is settled. I've got this how I want it. And we did a massive push to create these really high quality pre-recorded videos. And then people started asking me for just the videos. They're like, well, I can't do the certification. I have too much going on right now. Or the timing isn't right. Can I just get access to the videos? And I was like, yeah, I'll put a price tag on that. Cool. So we realized we could offer this at kind of at a more accessible price too, because it doesn't come with all of the amazing support system that you get in the certification. So we were like, yeah, we'll give you all the materials. Very cool. So this also gave us a passive income source, which was very, very cool. Here's the thing though, y'all. It's just really, really hard to get through this course without expert support. And people do it all the time. Okay, actually, our success rate is really, really good compared to most online courses. I think the industry standard is something really sad, like 3% or something. Ours is much higher than that. I'll say ours is in the double digits success rate. So it is much higher than the industry standard, which I feel like is an amazing testament to we get the right people in, and it is amazing content, and it is mind-blowing. And the fact that it is such a long course, I mean, it is robust, y'all. It is robust. Like this is not like, and I think that industry standard is, the same for a 3-hour class that are, comparing our 20-hour class and a very difficult 20-hour class. So the fact that our number is good, even though our course is robust and difficult, that makes me feel okay. But the number is still not what I want it to be. All right. I want everyone getting through. I don't want anyone dropping off because it gets too hard and they get frustrated and they don't have support. So I kind of equate this to learning physics by just, let's say like learning physics 3, all right, by just reading the textbook, but like not having access to the class, not having access to office hours, never working with a TA or going to study groups with your friends. Like this is absolutely doable. Like if you just had the physics textbook, then like you could probably learn you could learn pretty well, right? But not in the same way if you had a lot of support. All right. So I want that better completion rate. And I just feel like it's time to reinvent what self-paced means. So self-paced, it basically means alone. Like we do have some support. We have twice a month Q&A. You have access to the forum. So there is support. You can book calls with me. If you want to pay extra, you can book calls with me. I do have some availability for that. So there is support, but it is just not enough. So it is not enough to make me satisfied that people are getting through and they're really getting the concepts as they go through. So I am ready to put a pause on it and reinvent what the self-paced experience is. So when we reintroduce this next year sometime with this new experience, if you are already enrolled, so go ahead and enroll. If you know you want this, right? Go ahead and enroll, because you will get access to all those new bells and whistles next year when it comes out. But then you'll have all this extra time with the course that you can be luxuriating in it. So if you do want to go ahead and get in, go ahead and please get in this week before we close the doors. Okay. So here are my life lessons, which sound a little cliche, but I think that they're just so good to remind ourselves of. So lesson number 1 is to remember your mission and stick to your values, okay? So for us, the number 1 mission is to help people learn OOUX so that they can upgrade their professional lives and practice stronger UX and facilitate awesome collaboration and have more fun at work, okay? And create better technology too, all right? So that is the mission. The mission is to share this thing that works so well for me and that really kind of changed my UX work, like made it actually fun again, and made me feel much more effective and made all my imposter syndrome melt away because to be honest, I'm going to have a hot take here. Before OOUX, I kind of was an imposter. I feel like I was sort of making it up as I went along. And I was just kind of then we'll do this and then we'll do that. It was all very hand wavy. And I had my moments of making things better for sure. But once I really solidified my process and really figured out the magic of OOUX, that imposter syndrome went away. It was not a thing anymore because I was no, I know that this is the right way to do this work. My confidence went up. So that is what I want to give people. That is the goal here. That is what makes me sleep really, really well at night. Okay. The other thing that I really want is I want more people to be using OOUX, really using OOUX and able to integrate it into their work, because I want to start seeing in bigger and bigger ways the fingerprints of OOUXers on the technology that I'm using. I'm just always so frustrated with technology because I'm oh my gosh, nobody OOUXed this. And we've got isolated objects, and we've got shapeshifters, and we got masked objects, we got broken objects, all up in all the stuff that I'm using. And I just really want to see that stuff go away. All right. So that is my other goal is, yes, help you, but can we just make technology a little bit less annoying, please? So those are my goals. That is the mission. All right. Not selling masterclasses on a weekly basis. Okay. So when you're in the weeds of running a business or working with a team or even working within your family, in your life, it's just so easy to lose sight of your goals. I know how cliche this all sounds, but just a gentle reminder here. Has your strategy crept away from your ultimate goal? Okay, so every few years, even every few months, most of us, we do need to step back and course correct because we're in it. When you're in it, it's just easy to get blown around by the winds of vanity metrics and the urgency of the search for more money or whatever that is, right? So coming back to what are we actually trying to do here? Okay. So step back, reassess. Do you need to course correct? Okay. So lesson 2, which builds right on top of this first lesson, is watch out for getting hypnotized by lag metrics. Lag metrics are the metrics you have less control over. Okay, sales, followers, likes. All right, these are often the quantitative metrics that just feel really easy to track and usually point to this outer semblance of success. All right, they're really easy to chase, they're easy to obsess over, and actually counterintuitively, focusing too much on lag metrics doesn't even improve them. Okay, your lag metrics will improve when you focus on your lead metrics. So these are the metrics that you can actually control. They're a little bit more difficult to capture. They're more nuanced to improve. They're often a little bit more cringy to look at. So things like satisfaction. How much are we implementing our feedback? How much are we implementing what we figure out in research? How much is your product actually improving your users' lives? Okay. Oh, they bought it, but are they actually using it? And are they using it in the most deep, meaningful way. Okay, so when we focus on improving the product so that it just makes our users more badass, naturally our lag metrics are going to follow. So marketing, yes, it is super important for any business, and we do need to track those lag metrics, but they shouldn't be leading us, okay? They're just this lagging sign of how well we are doing on our lead metrics. All right, so think about your lead metrics versus your lag metrics, please. And think about those lead metrics that align to your mission and your values. Okay, so this move for us to pull the masterclass, work on making sure that we just support people really, really nicely as they go through this really tough program, that is so important. Okay, it's more important than, just having it up on the website and getting sales on a weekly basis. Okay. But what I truly do believe is once we reintroduce it, once we go heads down, we reintroduce what that experience is, and that experience just levels up. And again, if you go ahead and get in now, then you're going to get access to everything that we introduce next year too. But we just do need to have we need to have a hibernation period, right? Where we're not introducing new people into the program as we kind of do some work on the back end. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the difference between the OOUX Fundamentals course, our Udemy course, and the masterclass. So the easiest way I would describe this is the Fundamentals course is basically getting you to where I was within my first 5 years of using OOUX. So it takes you 5 years of me working on this process and working out the kinks and hitting my head against the wall in 6 hours. It gets you up to speed. All right. And gets you to basically where my thinking was around 2018. Okay. It's the basics. It's the foundations. It's very, very effective. It is a little bit beyond what I wrote about in 2015 in my List Apart article that made the rounds on the internet. Okay. So it will make you incredibly effective, but I have done about 5 more years of work. Now, even the Udemy course came out in, when did it come out? 2021, 2022? Again, it was just a foundation. So I've learned so much more and so much nuance on object-oriented UX that has helped me tackle more and more complex challenges in a more and more elegant way and play that 4D chess that OOUX, that even the fundamentals course will help you get to, that 4D chess. But often what it does is it helps you see what is possible, but then you end up hitting a wall if you're working on something really complex where you might need some inheritance. You might need a junction object. You might need a tree system. You might need a local object. So all these different flavors of objects, conditional logic as well as another piece that we talk about a lot. God users, level of specificity is a big kind of stumbling block, right? On what actually are objects? What level of specificity do I define objects at? Is this an object or is this just metadata? So it's going to give you that really kind of more professional grade, nuanced approach to object-oriented UX, which is so important when you're working on really complex, design challenges. So if you're building basic websites and basic consumer applications, the fundamentals course is good for you. You might want to upgrade later to the OOUX Masterclass. But if you're dealing with any level of complexity, you are going to want that more nuanced, deeper take into object-oriented UX that gives you all these different types of objects. The other thing that the masterclass will give you is the requirements round of the Orca process. And this is where you basically Orca your Orca. It's taking it one level deeper, where you are basically building out an OOUX system to house your documentation and write really amazing requirements that can be collaborated on, that can be flexible, and that can be beautifully color-coded as well. Okay? So that whole extra level of requirements, we don't have that in the Udemy course. And then the other piece that you're going to get in the masterclass that you're not going to get in the Udemy course is prioritization. So this is road mapping. So I tell this story in the masterclass of when I realized that OOUX could be a really, really good tool to create a roadmap. And I did this through trial and error, lots of error. But basically what we did is I worked with some developers on I was the one UXer, developers and software engineers working on this startup, and they loved the OOUX process. They were all about it. We had this massive object map that we worked on for about 8 weeks or so. So we spent a long time on that object map, and they understood the value of getting that right. And then we met with the investors and kind of showed them how to read the object map. I think I had a few screens that were based on it as well. And the investors said, okay, well, how long is this going to take to build? And the engineers were like 18 months or so. I was like, oh, shit. The investors were like, oh, God, well, we got to trim this down. And I kind of had a dark night of the soul and was like, oh my gosh, I've led them in this direction where it's just way too heavy and way too expensive to build out this amazing thing that we came up with. And then I looked at the object map and I was like, well, we can just start actually prioritizing. We can eliminate some of these objects. If we eliminate the objects, then we're going to have to eliminate the nested objects that associate with those objects. And some of these objects can maybe just be metadata for phase one. And we actually got back together and we created a beautiful roadmap of phase one, phase two, phase three, based on the object map, literally graying out parts of the object map. But it was also so beneficial for the developers and the engineers to look at it and be they kind of could see what was coming. So they had this big picture of where we would probably be going in a 2-year roadmap and what that North Star is from a long-term perspective, which actually helped them a lot in figuring out, okay, with these core 4 objects that we're going to develop instead of these 17 objects, with these core 4 objects, they could actually, from a development perspective, build that in a way knowing what is coming down the line. And from a user experience perspective, I could do the same thing. I could develop those screens kind of knowing that all right, this is sort of where we're going in a 2-year time period. And now also knowing that once we introduce this MVP, if you will, into the world, once we introduce that into the world, we're going to get feedback and things are going to change. But what we're introducing is the stuff that we are the most sure about, the stuff that we are most confident about. And then we have that really nice foundation. And so what happens so often when we get these applications with this really high kludge factor, if you will, the more mature it gets, just the more and more clunky it gets, is because we're just tacking on features Frankenstein style instead of creating this simple system that works, that is scalable. And then we can introduce new objects, but we sort of already have placeholders for those objects ready to go. So we're introducing new objects. We're building out new relationships between those objects. We're making an existing object more robust. We're adding a CTA to an object. And it's just a really, really beautiful way to grow your system. Okay, so we get into that whole prioritization round in the masterclass, which I barely touch on in the fundamentals course. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea on just the level of depth that you are going to get in the masterclass if you decide to go that route. I know this episode was a little bit of an announcement. Yes, we are closing the doors. I hope you still really took away those lessons of remembering to stick to your mission, reassess. Sometimes you do have to take a step back, and that's totally normal because we're just in it. We can't be every single day, having these big these big heart to hearts with our mission and our values. It's just not, because we're in it. We got a lot of stuff to do, but every now and then we do need to step back. Maybe that's every quarter, every 6 months, and make sure that do we need to course correct? And I think we need to do that in our lives as well. And just to recap, also in those course corrects, identify your lead metrics, those that you have control over. All right. And then identify the lag metrics, which you probably don't have control over. They are just lagging behind, showing you how well you're doing on your lead metrics. So reassess those to make sure that you're moving in the right direction and you're staying really nicely aligned. Okay. So I hope you decide to go ahead and join us in the OUX Masterclass in these last couple of days that we do have the doors open. If not, we are opening up again next year, but it is going to be in hibernation for a while. So if you want to come on in, and I will go ahead and say, if you're still listening, hi, if you're still listening, likely the price point will go up next year. All right, because we are introducing more support. It is going to be a little bit more expensive to run. So we are probably going to increase the price point. Maybe, maybe not, but that is likely going to happen depending on what we come up with. So now is the time to get in at that $9.97 price point to ensure that you get in on that price point, okay? Maybe we'll keep it the same, but likely because we are adding a bunch of new features with new support, it will probably go up. Okay, so happy OUXing. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. Please visit objectorientedux.com/podcast for show notes. Our soundtrack is Fighter by Ruby Vell, courtesy of Sugaroo Records. Happy OUXing!